Welcome back, YouTube subscribers and viewers. Today, here we're going to be covering one of the lost buildings at Somerset Place, and today we're covering the Gristmill. Now, the Gristmill was one of the earliest buildings constructed here on the plantation, constructed by 1791 along the canal. Now, the canal behind me is still the original canal that the 80 enslaved men and women started hand digging in 1786. And the gristmill would have been standing right about where we're standing today, powered by the water of the canal. So in order to get enough water power, the canal went from about 6 feet in depth and dropped a good 6 feet or so. So it went from 6 feet to about 12 feet in depth so you could get the rushing water. There would have been a water wheel powering the motor, the grooves, and the millstones themselves. In 1806, there was an advertisement in the Edenton Gazette, actually, for the sale of 1/3 of the property here at Somerset Place. And in that advertisement was the gristmill was listed, and there was an inventory in that about what was in the gristmill at the time. So in the gristmill there were 2 different types of millstones, one for milling corn, the corn cash crop here, and one for the wheat cash crop as well. And then there was 2 bolting cloths here, and a bolting cloth was used after the grain was milled through the stones. It was then sent to what was called a bolting reel, and it would have had a cloth over it, which is most likely a silk, actually. It's very fine cloth, and that's how they sifted the flour. And they could do several different types of flour that way. So you could get a whole wheat flour through this bolting process, as well as the white flour, which was probably the most popular. And then you could get the coarser grain out of that as well. And so that was an 1806 advertisement at that point. Now, a few years later, 1839, a gentleman by the name of Edmund Ruffin came to the plantation here. And Edmund was a really renowned agriculturalist around the South at that time. Many planters, many plantation owners looked to Edmund Ruffin as an authority of crop rotation and how to get the most out of the land on your plantation. And he visited here and he mentioned the gristmill as well, and he talked about the water power that was used to run the mill itself. It was amazing how much water power was used, and then how that resulted in less hands needed to run the mill itself. Then a few years later, during the Civil War, actually in 1864, some Union troops came through Somerset Place, and at the time the gristmill here was still standing, and we have accounts of some Union soldiers mentioning that in letters written after they came through the area. Now, also a little bit later on, after the Civil War, 1866, Mary Collins comes back to the plantation, and we see the gristmill mentioned again in an advertisement for sale of the plantation. The Collinses were in great debt at this point in time, and they were trying to sell the plantation. One more mention of the gristmill is a few years later in 1872, and it's thought at that point in time that the gristmill was actually in ruins. So shortly thereafter, most likely the gristmill would no longer have been standing here at the plantation. So that's a little bit about the gristmill that was standing here at Somerset Place. If you have any questions about it, please comment below, and then don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We would love to have more subscribers here, and then come out for a guided tour. We hope to see you out here soon. Thank you guys so much.